Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Scottish Connection. And I have a very special guest today, Mick Davis. How are you today, Mick?
Quarantined, but apart from that, I'm good. I'm okay. Glad to be seeing you, talking to you.
Yeah, no, it's great to see you too, and thank you for coming to the show today. What part of Scotland are you originally from? Where do you hail?
A little place called Glasgow.
Ah, just that little place.
And a little district in there called the Gorbals.
Aha. And that's where you grew up as a youngster?
I grew up in the Gorbals, and I'm very proud of that fact. A lot of good people came out the Gorbals. And it's a lot of history there. Fun times.
And were you involved with anything? How were you involved with the arts in your early days as a youngster growing up there in Glasgow?
Going to the movies, and that's about it.
Yeah.
There was no. The only artistic element in my family was on a Saturday night if my parents had a few drinks, and then they would sing at a party, and that was about it. And my father played the comb.
Oh wow! Oh,
yeah, that's all he did, or spoons on his thighs. But that was it. No, nothing artistic at all. It was just my desire to. I don't know where it came from. I think as a kid I had asthma, and I couldn't get up and get out much. So I used to read a lot,
right,
and draw and paint and write a lot of short stories. And my imagination, it's like a lot of kids, when they've got problems growing up and they're sick or whatever, they always build another world for themselves. So that's what I did.
Well, that's great. And so that was your kind of early attraction to writing.
It was indeed, yeah. It got me going.
And when was the first time you got something published?
I'd written. I wrote a novel. It wasn't very good, but it got published, and I think I was 19 or 20. And so that kind of gave me the inspiration to keep going. Although at the same time, I was a professional soccer or football coach with Celtic.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they were my boyhood idols. So I grew up a Celtic fan, ended up becoming their fitness coach, which is good for a guy who used to have asthma. And then there came a point when we were all getting fired. We'd won the league, and then the following year we lost the league, and we knew everybody was getting fired in terms of the staff. And so I had to make a decision at that point. Do I stay in football, or do I go and try and live my dream, which is go to America? So, and I'd spoke to Rod Stewart, who's a friend, and he's a Celtic fan.
Mm-hmm.
And when he came to a game one time, I just asked him, I says, listen, I'd love to go to America and make movies. And he said to me, well, if you ever come over, let me know. So when I got to LA, I got a job coaching his football team called the Exiles. And he introduced me to some people, and that was the beginning.
Wow. That sounds almost like a script right there within itself.
I know. It's incredible.
That is quite a journey.
Very blessed. Very blessed,
And what age would have you been, just sort of ballpark-wise, when you hit America's shores?
When I got to America, late 20s.
Wow.
Yeah, it took a while, a lot of people make the jump a lot younger. But I didn't, it's, I think also because there was no guidance, if I grew up in a family of artists or filmmakers or whatever, I probably would have got here 10 years earlier. But there was no one to say, go west, young man,
Right.
So I just kept doing my thing with football, and then, just inside still wanting to try and get to America and live that sort of like dream of mine.
So it's amazing. And you have an incredible career. I'm so impressed with all the movies that you've directed and all the writing that you've done. What was the first thing in the US that script wise that you could say was kind of like your initial break, you know, the foot in the door moment?
Oh yeah, yeah. I think it was a script called Paganini about the violinist Niccolo Paganini. I'm very into history and historical figures, so I'd written a script about a violinist, and you know, I suppose in some ways it was naive because most people were writing scripts about, you know, like Terminator or, you know, Rocky or stuff, you know, and I'm writing about a fucking 18th century violinist. So, but the script was given to CAA, and Martin Scorsese read it, and somebody at CAA gave it to Martin, and Martin read it, and he said, "This is one of the best scripts I've read. Whoever this guy is, you should sign him." So they signed me, and they introduced me to Mickey Rourke, and I ended up working on 5 pictures with Mickey, and that was that. So Paganini was the one.
Wow, that was the key that unlocked the door to the Hollywood.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
congratulations for that. Talk me about Mickey Rourke. What were you doing there with the whole 9.5 weeks and all of that great stuff that
yeah. And
you
then
just
we have a
started?
joke, me and my friends. I've got a lot, you know. Obviously, I've got Scottish friends in this business. One in particular, a dear friend, David O'Hara, who starred in Braveheart with Mel.
Yeah.
And David, we make a joke. We'll say, when people will say, "God, you did 9.5 weeks," and then we wait for a pause, and David will go, 2, as in the crap sequel, you know.
uh,
But hey, listen, for good or for bad, I did the sequel to 9.5 weeks, so you know, not
no,
many
that's
people can say that.
no, that's great. That's great work. Look, I had a look on your IMDb, and it's absolutely loaded with
Yeah,
stuff there. And of course, with all of that, it's a little bit like when people ask me, you know, they say, "What's your favorite song you composed?"
yeah,
So,
of course, aye.
kind of directing that out of all of the work that you've done, these wonderful scripts. What's the highlight for you personally?
I would probably have to say it would be the movie I wrote and directed, Modigliani, with Andy Garcia starring. That was one of those boyhood dreams, you know. There was a few scripts that I wanted to write badly, and because I fell in love with Modigliani's art as a child. I'd read books about him and stuff, and I just loved it. I was captivated by his journey, his story, and so it seemed to me that uh, that I had to. It was a story I was kind of familiar with because he was sick as a kid, and he had to stay home, and he would draw, and he would paint, and he would carve little pieces of wood and stone or whatever. And I thought, I know this guy, so I wrote a script, and I developed it with Al Pacino for over 3 years. And Al and we went to Paris together and hung out there and looked at Modi's old haunts. And then I went upstate to his house, but it was taking too long. And so Al decided they wanted to extend the option of the script, and I said no. So you don't say no to Al Pacino, but I did.
Oh my
And
goodness.
because I just wanted to get the movie made, and I was scared someone else would make it. And Andy Garcia jumped on board, and it was probably so far, yeah, I would say it's the highlight of my career because it was just a wonderful, to see it come alive with such a wonderful actor was great, you know.
Well, that's great. It sounds like everyone out there should make sure that they watch it.
Yeah, listen, you know, it's hard for me to say. It's like, you know, you for a song, you know, it's very hard because you're always going to be, you love your babies, you know.
Aye.
But you know, it's got a lovely big following, the movie, and women love it in particular because it's a very emotional movie. You know, it's a love story, really. So
And how did you make the transition here from writing all these wonderful scripts to then getting involved with being behind the camera and becoming a director?
well, back in the early 90s, I'd directed a couple of commercials that I got the chance to do, and I'd been on the set as a writer so many times with Mickey. And I remember one time Mickey looking at me, and I'd said something to Mickey quietly about a shot they were lining up. And Mickey leaned to me and he said in his own cool way, he said, "You think you couldn't do what he does?" And I thought, all right, that's it. So I wrote a script in a couple of weeks, 3 weeks, called The Match. And there was a bidding war for this script. It was a comedy about two soccer teams in a kind of a romantic part of Scotland. All of Scotland's romantic, but this part in particular was created. It was a kind of a brigadoon, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a bidding war, and the one who wanted to do it most, I said, you can only do it if I'm directing it. He said, okay. Steve Golan is his name is, God rest him. He just died last year. He was one of the best producers in Hollywood.
R.I.P.
Steve Golan, yeah, definitely. And Steve was, he was a real, he made David Fincher's career. He created David Fincher's career. That's how good he was. And he gave me the opportunity. I ended up with great actors like Tom Sizemore and Richard E. Grant, Pierce Brosnan. It was just phenomenal, you know. It was one of those kind of Ealing comedy type things, you know.
Yeah.
So, and that was it. And I've just felt, I was like a duck to water. And I thought, okay, now I've done this and I can't stop. I've got to keep going.
Right. And you've directed quite a lot of movies.
Well, yeah. I've been busy lately as well, yeah. So it's been good.
Tell us about the new films that you're working on currently and how they're going to be taking you back to Scotland.
I just did one at the beginning of the year. It was a Christmas movie. It comes out November 1. And it's called Christmas Date for My Dad. And it stars Jeremy Piven from Entourage. I think everybody knows who Jeremy Piven is.
Mm-hmm.
Ari Gold, great character. And a wonderful actor. And it's a kind of a feel-good comedy, you know. It's about a dad whose wife died a couple of years ago, and his teenage daughter is trying to set him up with a date. She goes about it the wrong way, and it's kind of hilarious until, you know, we get to a point when it's not. But it's a kind of beautiful movie. So that comes out in November, and I'm going to start shooting again. I shoot another one in September. This one's called The Christmas Sisters.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't tell you who's hovering around it in terms of actors right now until they're closed, but it's kind of it's almost like a Woody Allen movie meets Love Actually, you know. So it's a lot of fun.
Can we know what part of Scotland you might be filming in?
Well, we're going to be shooting in York, actually, in the north of England, the city the beautiful city of York. But that doesn't stop me from taking the train 2 hours up to Glasgow and seeing the mates and having a pint and a curry and then you know, going and visit some of the crazy people I know up there, you know.
Catching up with everybody.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Taking a Celtic match. Yeah.
And something new you're working on, Let There Be Love. What's that about? Well,
Let There Be Love was the original title of the Christmas movie with Jeremy Piven.
Aha, so right now
but after I do this next one, I'm going to go and do another one with Andy Garcia and Mickey Rourke. So I'll direct Mickey for the first time, which will be fun.
That will be great.
Yeah, he's going to play the king of the gypsies. And it's about a sculptor from the 1950s called Brancusi. Very famous sculptor. So it's his story, and Andy will play Brancusi and Mickey will play the king of the gypsies.
That's great. You certainly dig in deep when you're doing your work there. Do you think that comes from your early days in Scotland? Just being, you know, a young lad in that room writing your novels and the amount of research you do.
Well, I do. Yeah, I mean, research for sure. I think the work ethic comes from. When I was a kid, I had a job in a butcher shop for a couple of years, and the old man I worked with in the butcher shop, and I consider him to be a huge part of the forming of me as a person in terms of the work ethic, because he was great. You know, he would teach me things that I didn't care, you wouldn't care about as a teenager, but he just taught me to value things and to work hard. And if you work hard, you know, things will pay off. So I've always had that ethic. I don't try to rush things. I meet young writers today, for instance, and they write one draft of a script and they think it's Shakespeare, you know?
Yeah.
And they'll say, oh, this is it. It's done. It's ready. It's good. It's great. And you read it and you go, oh, God. And you're trying to be nice and say, you need to go back and rewrite it. No. But I was like that as well, a little bit, but I had a good work ethic. So I think that's the formative years. He helped, and my father and stuff like that. So,
yeah. With your writing, do you find that some of the best work comes quickly, or like sometimes with music it can take forever to write a song, and then other times it'll just come and flow? How do you feel about that with some of the work that you really love and you're happy with? Was it kind of spontaneous and quick, or was it arduous and took forever?
That's a good question because, for instance, when I wrote Modigliani, I can remember that the mother of my children, when we had just started dating, and I was living in Paris at the time, and she went in for a bath. And I kid you not, she was having a bath, and I sat down and wrote 25 pages of the script for Modigliani.
Wow.
In the time she was in the bath. So, and I think it's only because I knew the character so well.
Right.
That I had been fermenting away in my mind for a long, long time. And sometimes it goes like that. And then there were times like when I was doing a 9.5-week script, and I was really struggling in some ways because the idea was to reverse the roles from the original movie, where Mickey would be the submissive and the female character would be basically in control of him. And I had to wrap my head around getting away from Mickey being so cool and in control, which he always seemed to be in movies. But I got there, and it is like that. I guess it's the same as it is for the likes of yourself, you know. There are moments when you're inspired and you just fly through it.
Mm.
But then there's times when it's tough. But the times when it's tough is when you've actually got to keep going. You can't walk away from it, you know.
No, that's right. It leads me to my next question. You know, a lot of the young script writers watching this and entertainers and stuff, it's a difficult question, really. It's how do you deal with writer's block? Do you ever have any writer's block, or, you know, has that been an issue for you, or has everything just been pretty plain sailing?
No, I think, of course, I've had writer's block. Has it tormented the life out of me to the point that I want to give up and become something else? No. I think that if I do get it, I have idea. Usually what I do is if I get a little bit of a block, I just go for a walk. And I live in LA like yourself, so the sun shines and I can walk around and it's nice. And I put my headphones on and I listen to some music, and it's usually the Beatles.
Yeah.
And then I get inspired, you know. It's just, I suppose when you talk about music, for instance, if you listen to like Strawberry Fields, right, and I'm sure you've heard all the versions of that,
Yeah,
from his acoustic version right through until
cellophane skies and marshmallow pies.
Well, that's Lucy in the Sky, but Strawberry Fields is
Strawberry Fields. That's right.
Strawberry Fields, but the composition,
forever.
exactly.
Yeah,
and the composition of that song, the structure of it was so incredible, and the words that were used were so incredible. Yet it was such a personal. You could tell there was a personal connection with what he was singing. And it just, I get inspired by little things like that, and it makes me want to go back and sit down and work again, you know.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I notice a lot of kids when they're, you know, doing exams and studying and stuff like that, they'll listen to music to help them with their writing. Yeah, thank you very much for that tip. So this wonderful life that you've lived and all the incredible people you've met and all the great times you've had, what's one of your sort of funniest stories that comes to mind about your journey? that you would like to share with the audience?
Funny stories.
Because I know you've got a lot of them. Normally, they're best told after half a bottle of scotch, right?
Well, I've got the one that springs to mind. I don't know if it's, I mean, it's tough to be consciously trying to be funny, but I'll give it a shot. When I was directing the match, it was funny. And the actor Tom Sizemore, wonderful actor. I mean, he starred in Heat with Pacino and Saving Private Ryan with Hanks and for Spielberg. Just a great actor and a sweet human being. And he was the only American in the movie. And so it was about a soccer match. And Tom, there was like 150 extras, but all these extras had turned up because they knew Pierce Brosnan was flying in a helicopter to do his scene from my movie. Because at the time, Pierce was Bond. So Tom's standing there and he's waiting, and it's raining because it's Scotland. And this helicopter is coming in, and it lands, and off gets Pierce. And I'd told Pierce I wanted him to look a little rugged. I wanted him to look like a fisherman who'd been away working on a trawler ship off the coast of Scotland for months and has finally come back to his wife. And so anyway, the chopper lands, Pierce gets off, the women all go crazy. And this great actor, Tom Sizemore, who had just finished working on Saving Private Ryan, and his next movie was Mick Davis. So there he is standing at the sidelines of this soccer field it's a cow field, pissing rain, soaked through. I do the scene with Pierce, and then Pierce gets on the chopper and the chopper flies away. It's like a Bond movie. And then, so I say, all right, let's set the camera up for the next shot. And it was this big wide shot of all these people and guys running around playing football. So Tom comes to me and he goes, Mick, I says, what? He goes, where's my close-up? Right? So can I swear on this thing, incidentally?
I'm sure you can. We can always beep it out if we have any complaints.
All right. So anyway, he comes to me, where's my close-up? And I says, I'm not doing a close-up on you, Tom. I don't need it. This is a wide shot. And then he looks at me and goes, I fucking work with Steven Spielberg. I'm going to work with Martin Scorsese. You're in between them. Who the fuck are you? You're just a piece of ham. And I was like, I looked at him and I just thought, so what do I do? My whole crew are standing there and they're all waiting to see, and I'm the director. So, they want to respect me. And it wasn't because I'm the director, it was because he'd called me out in front of everybody. So I said to him, you're fired. And he said, what? I says, you're fired. Go. And he had a bodyguard who was an ex-SAS guy who was with him, taking care of him. And his name is Billy, a lovely guy, Billy Budd, yeah. Anyway, so I says, Billy, you need to take him off the set, walk him out of the field. So and he's gone, he turned white, And I says, no, you're fired, Tom. I says, no, you can't. Listen, man, you don't call the shots. I call the shots. I'm Tom Sizemore. I said, I don't care who you are. I says, the fact that you keep saying that means that you don't have an argument. So off you go. So he walks away. And it was like a kid's game, because my first AD, who was one of the best in the business, Tommy Gormley, Tommy's looking at me. Tommy's giggling. And Tommy's he's like a great lieutenant, he's by your side through thick and thin. And Tommy's chuckling, and he's looking at me. And he says, what do you want me to do, boss? You want me to get the car over for him? I says, no, don't get the car. Watch what happens. Because I know American actors. I worked with Mickey for 8 years.
Right.
So I says, well, just wait and see. So Tom goes down to the corner of the field. It's about 100 yards away. And I'm just setting up the next shot. And I see him standing there like a kid. And he's kicking the grass. And he's talking to his bodyguard. And they're going at it. And he's talking away. And I says to Tommy, I says, okay, here he's coming. Keep a straight face. Everybody keep a straight face. So Tom comes back up. And he looks at me and he goes, I'm sorry, man. I didn't mean to shout. I says, hey. I says, you're a great actor. now, do you want to be friends and get on with this movie? He says, yeah. And he was almost tears in his eyes. We just hugged it out. Then we got on with it and we finished the movie and it was a blast.
Wow.
But yeah, it was all because James Bond flew in and flew out and Tom couldn't handle it. He was just jealous, you know?
Wow. Oh, thank you so much for that lovely story, Mick. That was really great. I so much appreciated that.
You're welcome.
And yeah, thank you so much for coming on.
You're welcome.
And sharing all of your stories with us. Is there anything you'd like to close with? Just is there anything you'd like to say about what we should look out for from you and when we can view it?
Well, you know, Amazon, especially in Britain, Amazon have the Jeremy Piven movie that I did, a Christmas Date for Dad. And the only other thing is you should all support Celtic to win the championship 10 in a row. And I'll be happy. That'll be a good year. And they pray for everybody who's been sick with this terrible illness here and back home, and hope that everybody gets better and everybody stays safe and social distances, and we'll get through this. Yeah,
we will indeed. That's right. It's a whole new world that we have now. And, you know, it's a better world for having guys like you in it, mate. Thank you very much for all your work.
Likewise. Thanks, man.
And it's most appreciated. I just give a quick shout out to the sponsor today. This week's podcast was sponsored by Social Enterprise Academy. Social Enterprise Academy was founded 15 years ago in Scotland to help people change the world by increasing the quantity, quality, and sustainability of social enterprises globally. They design and deliver transformational learning and development programs focused on social entrepreneurship, leadership, social impact, and organizational development. They operate in 15 countries internationally and work with 3,000 people annually via individuals, nonprofit organizations, corporate clients, and community organizations working for social purposes. The programs are accredited at degree level, and you can find them on www.socialenterprise.academy. And thank you so much, mate, for helping us out here at Scott Week. We're looking forward to getting back on the horse next year and having some concerts, and we'll
absolutely
do some rock and roll stuff, and maybe we get you up to sing a song. You never know.
Oh, God help you.
All right, man.
Buddy.
Take
All
care.
The best.
God bless.
Take it easy. God bless.
Bye-bye. Ciao.
Bye. Ciao.